President Obama is a very fit and very athletic person. He is very good, for example, at basketball, which is his favorite sport. However, he is not very good at bowling. He is, in fact, bad at bowling, which, do you remember momentarily during the 2008 presidential primary campaign, him being bad at bowling turned into some sort of cipher for why he wasn't going to be able to get white people to vote for him. Remember that whole theory about how being bad at bowling meant no white electorate would vote for him? And then he wins Idaho and Nebraska, and everybody remembers, hey, didn't he win Iowa too? It became sort of an untenable analysis. But still, he is, in fact, bad at bowling. We learned that in March 2008 when candidate Obama visited this bowling alley in Blair County, Pennsylvania, and got some size 12 shoes. In the 2008 election, President Obama, ultimately the man who would become President Obama, won Pennsylvania pretty easily. He actually won by more than 10 points in Pennsylvania. But he did not win in Blair County, where he went bowling. He lost by 24 points in Blair County. He did still win the state, as Democratic presidential candidates have been doing in Pennsylvania for almost 20 years now. And in 2008, that won him 21 electoral votes over John McCain. You only need 270 total. Pennsylvania gave him 21 of those. Republicans now control both houses of the state legislature and the governorship in Pennsylvania, and they have just proposed a change so that if Barack Obama performs the same way in the next election as he did in 2008, he would not get 21 electoral votes like he did last time, or 20, which is how many Pennsylvania will get this time around. If Barack Obama does in Pennsylvania what he did the last time, this time he would get a net gain of maybe 1 electoral vote, under a new set of rules the Republicans are considering. Even if he wins the state, they might just give the Republican nominee more electoral votes anyway. Nice, right? The Republican plan is to stop awarding all of Pennsylvania's electoral votes to whoever wins the state's vote overall, and instead to award most of them district by congressional district. In 2008, remember, Barack Obama won the state by more than 10 points. But if you look at the map, district by district, if you sort of squint at it, it almost looks like John McCain might have won. And John McCain did win more congressional districts in that race. He won 10 out of the 19. He was able to pick up the Republican areas of the state, as you'd expect, places like Blair County, home of that bowling alley. But he won his districts by smaller margins. So McCain lost the popular vote statewide by a lot. If Pennsylvania Republicans think it's going to go like that again in their state in 2012, the Republican narrowly carrying a bunch of Republican districts but losing the whole state, in this new plan being considered by the Republican-controlled legislature with support from the Republican governor, which means it very well could become law, in this new plan, a replay of the 2008 presidential race in Pennsylvania with this new plan in place would mean the Republican nominee with those 10 districts John McCain won would be winning 10 electoral votes. Barack Obama, with his 9 districts, would win 9 electoral votes, plus 2 bonus electoral votes for winning the state's overall popular vote. So President Obama's overall net gain from his Pennsylvania win would not be 21 electoral votes like it was in 2008. It would be 1 electoral vote. Barack Obama would get 11, John McCain would get 10. That's what Barack Obama would get for trouncing the Republican nominee in Pennsylvania by more than 10 points like he did last time. He'd get 1 net electoral vote. So by persuading no more people, by winning no more votes, by winning no more congressional districts than they did the last time, Republicans in Pennsylvania might have just figured out a way to add 20 electoral votes to the Republican side of the margin in the next presidential race. Not by getting any more votes, not by persuading any more people, just by changing Pennsylvania's rules so they would benefit the Republican candidate. This is how Republicans in the states rule this year. This is what they're doing with control of the state legislatures and the governorships. Unions give money to Democratic candidates and get out the vote for Democratic candidates, then unions have to be destroyed by state law. Democrats count on newly registered voters turning out for Democratic candidates, then it must become much, much harder to newly register voters by state law. Democratic voters are disproportionately minorities and poor people and students who disproportionately don't have official photo ID. Then official photo ID will be required to vote by state law. And now in Pennsylvania, Republicans can't figure out how to win the state, but they can figure out how to narrowly win some districts. So then, by golly, they'll change that state law too. This is called using public policy for partisan outcomes. This is called putting your thumb on the scale. Joining us now is former Pennsylvania Governor Ed Rendell, former chair of the Democratic Party and now an MSNBC political analyst. Governor, thank you for being here. It's nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
Let me just ask you what your position is on this new plan in your state, this Republican plan to divide up the state's electoral votes.
Well, really, Rachel, it's shameful. It is absolutely shameful. First of all, it violates the spirit, if not the letter, of one person, one vote. Think about it. In Philadelphia, which is a city that's about 83% Democratic registration, let's say the vote follows registration. Well, Philadelphia, Barack Obama would carry 83 to 17. That would get him 3 electoral votes. There are 3 congressional districts. But in the 3 suburban districts, let's say the Republicans carried each district narrowly, 51 to 49. They would get 3 electoral votes. So your vote in a suburban area counts a whole lot more than a citizen's vote in an urban area where there's a concentration of minority voters. And I think that opens up a possible legal challenge to this maneuver, number one. But it's unfair. It violates the spirit of one person, one vote. Secondly, it is bad for Pennsylvania, because right now, as you know, Rachel, Pennsylvania is one of the big 3, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, where elections are decided. We get the most money spent during the election campaign, the most attention from the candidates and the campaigns, and year in and year out, month in and month out, we have a lot of clout down in Washington. People don't want to truck with Pennsylvania because of its power in an election. Why should we unilaterally disarm? Why should Ohio, with a Republican governor, Ohio keeps all of its, let's say, 19 electoral votes going to the winner, and keeps its clout, and Pennsylvania, a rout in Pennsylvania would be something like 11 to 7, so we'd pick up 4 electoral votes. That would be the whole ball of wax. No one would pay nearly as much attention to Pennsylvania as they did now. And lastly, it's blatantly political. If we're going to do this in Pennsylvania, and the Republicans are going to pick up electoral votes, what about Texas? We'd like to pick up some electoral votes in Texas. If you did it by district in Texas, instead of getting shut out, Democrats would gain electoral votes. It's silly, it's partisan, it's unfair. They should be ashamed of themselves.
One of the sort of internal dynamics at work here, Politico.com reported on this today, that some Republicans in Pennsylvania and the state legislature are actually against this because they think it'll make it harder for some Republicans to get reelected if national Democrats are competing more all over the state in Republican areas. Are you seeing some Republican resistance to this too, or Republicans, you think, mostly on board?
No, I think there's a little nervousness on the Republican side. They're in pretty good shape in the legislature, and they're pretty hesitant to screw with the status quo. You know, politics begins at home, number one. So it might not pass, and we're going to have an all-out assault against it, particularly in the Southeast. We're going to make voters understand the unfairness of it, and I think it might not pass. But you know what would be delicious irony? If, let's say, Mitt Romney's their candidate, he carries Pennsylvania, but Barack Obama comes in very close and gets, let's say, 9 of Pennsylvania's 20 electoral votes, and Barack Obama becomes president by 5 electoral votes.
It could happen.
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice, provided that you enjoy.
Be careful what you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for, but you got to enjoy being the person who likes watching the funny movie Over the Edge of the Abyss. You got to be willing to get that close to it.
Absolutely. But it's shameful, it's not fair, it's undemocratic, and we should put it aside real fast.
Former Pennsylvania Governor Ed Rendell, thank you very much for joining us tonight, sir. It's nice to have you here. Thanks. Carmageddon was what they called it when they shut down a big freeway in Los Angeles this summer. Remember that? It was going to be the worst thing ever, and then it turned out to be fine. The best new thing in the world today is a comprehensive upgrade on everything about Carmageddon, including the name and the merchandise. Please stay tuned for that right at the end of the show.